Epipactis helleborine. Epipactis helleborine is also known as broadleaf helleborine, eastern helleborine, weed orchid, broad-leaved helleborine, and helleborine orchid. It belongs to genus Epipactis, which includes many species in Europe. Species in this genus tend to have a rather short, massive column structure, no labellum spur, but the hypochial is concave and nectariferous. It belongs to the family Orchidaceae, which also known as orchid family. Because it is a flowering plant, it is an angiosperm. It is widespread throughout Britain and Ireland, also occur in most of mainland Europe, continues throughout Central Asia and into Himalayas. Its habitat, Epipactis helleborine, are known to grow in cottonwood, oak, and pine forest. It prefers well-drained sites, often in the hardwoods, not far from pathways near human activity. The Epipactis helleborine are herbaceous, and its life cycle is perennial, which means they live for multiple years. It is heteroporous, produced multiple times through their lifetime. This plant is hermaphroditic. Each individual carries gametes of both sexes. Although they are not self-incompatible, they'll still be able to perform the selfing. The autogamy is very rare. It is considered as strict outcrosser. The reason for this sexual behavior is suggested to be that their pollinator attracting structure is very effective, and such high efficiency caused the fever to the outcrossing rather than selfing. The Epipactis helleborine has widely expanded upper petal and sepals, with smaller distal portion of the labellum firmly united to the basal portion and make it less flexible and elastic. And this structure serves as a landing place for the pollinator. This structure favors the pollinator to extract nectar from the open cup-shaped labellum and getting pollen on their foreheads. So, such favoring for the sexual reproduction from outcrossing, I guess, it is more likely to get more genetic diversity, so that it is less likely to be wiped out by certain disturbance. The major pollinators of Epipactis helleborine are Hymenoptera species, mostly west-bead wasp. Most observers believe that wasp species with long head, for example, Dolichovespula species, they're more important as pollinators than the short-head wasp. The Halictidae species, honeybees, hoverflies, and beetles can also serve as pollinators, but they are just accidental pollinators. There was an experiment showing that the tall fruiting shoot of Epipactis helleborine may play an influential role in seed dispersal. In their experiment, plants with taller fruiting shoots tend to transfer their seeds further, and seeds were dispersed the furthest in open area. And in their assumption, an open area have less hindrance in mid-air, so that the seeds can float further in the air. And therefore, the Epipactis helleborine are more likely to be a wind dispersal plant. The life cycle of plants in orchid family are very similar. All the life cycles start from pollination, then the fertile flowers produce a dry capsule, contains many small dust-like seeds. Those seeds will be detaching from the seed pods and then being transported by the wind. After landing in a favorable environment, they will start germinate. There are two types of germination in orchid family: symbiotic germination and asymbiotic germination, but those two are not very different from each other in process. In a symbiotic germination, the seeds germinate only after affected by a suitable fungus, which Epipactis helleborine also apply this. Some years, the plant will remain entirely underground when the environment is not so favorable for for them to grow out of soil and then nourished by its fungal partner. Other years, it may put up leaves without flowering when the pollination is not favorable, like lack of pollinator or lack of wind. The orchid embryo is not differentiated into distinct organs. It swells into ovoid or often top-shaped mass of cells on germination. The root hairs are produced from the lower portion of the protocorm. Like most terrestrial orchids, Epipactis helleborine do not develop chlorophyll for several months because they are growing underground, nourished by the symbiote fungus. After stems was developed from the seedling, the secondary roots will be arise from it, and then those secondary roots make up a root system. Then the leaves and flowers, inflorescences, will form. So in order to produce flowers, the plant will take energy from its leaves, and this may cause some leaves to turn yellow and fall off. After the plant has finished flowering, which means the function of the flower is finished, the orchid will grow a lot of roots so that it can get the nutrients it needs to start flowering again. Phenology of Epipactis helleborine. For Epipactis helleborine, flowering will happen in late summer and early fall.